All right, it has been a day, huh? The last 2 to 3 days in college football, the last 24 hours, the games on Saturday. We've discussed some of the huge rivalry games, and then we did mention North Texas became bowl eligible by beating previously unbeaten UT San Antonio, which has been one of the great stories in college football. There was a time when North Texas was 1-6. Seth Luttrell's name was in that he's on the hot seat. Their defensive coordinator and a great friend of the show, a longtime guest, former Baylor defensive coordinator Phil Bennett, joins us now on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. I talked to Phil a little bit Saturday evening on the way up to Dallas, and Coach, I thought about this, and I told you this, and you mentioned there's a story about this, that you remind me of the 2012 Baylor football team that was dug deep in a hole midway through the season, and then all of a sudden you got hot.
Yeah, and it was very similar, Dave. Very similar. You know, we had injuries that year, and I'll never forget. We lost some guys. We got had some tough losses. Obviously, everybody remembers the West Virginia game. And at the end of the year, if you remember, I was thinking about this after we talked. You caught me on the bus at the stadium in San Diego, and you said, what a game, after we had beaten a very good UCLA team. And I told you, I said, we're going to win the thing next year. And you and I have talked about that, and we won it in 13.
Phil, 1-6, most teams, you start thinking about, okay, how do I shuffle this lineup? Do I bring in some guys that might get ready for next year? What did you guys do that really shook things up and allowed you to finish so strongly?
Well, the first thing is our SMU game. We played SMU a hell of a game, our second game. We lost all three starting receivers, all three. And defensively, we lost two secondary guys and a defensive lineman. And so we were a little bit beat up. But, one of the things I thought Seth did a really good job of, we never changed our message. We kept the same message, and we worked, we competed. Now, we had to understand that we couldn't do the things we were doing offensively. And defensively, with me being new, we were evolving to finding the best players, where to put them, how to get them there. And, I think that there wasn't panic, much like we were in 12 there. We at the right time, we started getting kids back, and the kids who had replaced them had become valuable backups. So we started being able to really be able to play more guys. We had 4 backs that were really good players, and it helped us immensely down the stretch.
So, Coach, UTSA, they were unbeaten, had a lot of hype, had an emotional win the week before. What did you see in just preparation for them, and what was kind of the mindset throughout the week, knowing that there was a lot of attention on them and, the potential that they had, but there you guys were just kind of waiting in the wings?
Well, first of all, I'm a Jeff Traylor fan. I've known Jeff since he was a very young coach, know his brother, loved the family, and he has done a remarkable job at UTSA. Hell of a football coach, has a really good staff. But I sort of thought, man, the UAB game was a huge game. And I thought, and I told our kids this, I said, they're coming off their biggest win they've probably ever had. And we have a chance, if we get out there and get the momentum early, and we were able to do that, and we were able to take advantage of it. And I still think what the job that they've done down there has been remarkable. You beat a Big Ten team, you beat a Memphis team who beat the SEC team in Mississippi State, and they are a resilient football team.
What does it mean to someone like Taylor Young? A young coach, you brought him in. I text Taylor Young. In fact, when I texted you as well, and I got a great response from him. What do you think it means to someone like him and others, the younger coaches?
Well, first of all, Taylor Young is a future star in coaching. And I hope here shortly he gets his opportunity. He's just, I think they see the grind, and they see the non-panic. And it was always about the kids. We didn't blame. We didn't. We coached them hard. And I told them, I said, you're gonna get our best every day. I said, don't cheat yourself. Don't cheat this team. because we're going to maximize what we're trying to do. And once we got, I laughed. I told them after we had a very close game against Liberty, probably should have won the game. We lost some kids with penalties on head-to-head, and it changed the game. But I told them, I said, we're on the 5-step rehab program. And they laugh about it, and they bought into it, and we evolved to it.
You mentioned Taylor may have an opportunity sometime soon. Is that going to be with you? Another different opportunity, or is that going to be?
I think there could be a couple of different opportunities.
Okay.
I'm not at liberty to say, but just deserving guy. I mean, everything, and you know how I feel about him since he was at Baylor, and everybody that's been around him. Everybody is impressed with what he does and how he does it.
I got a question for you, if you don't mind. We saw what happened with Baylor's staff when Joey McGuire leaves mid-season. What are your thoughts about that as a guy who's been around this business for a long, long time, and how that turned out, and then to immediately be able to start trying to pick and cherry pick players that he recruited to the school he was at, and he won't be the last?
First of all, I was happy for Joey. I thought he did a tremendous job at Baylor. I've known him many years, and I don't believe, David, I've ever seen a situation like that before. I just think that it was unique. I think that I applaud Dave Aranda for the way he handled it. He could have gotten the media, made us think. We got guys taking our recruits, leaving here. But Dave chose not to do that, and at the same time, I know that Joey's loyalty has changed, and you and I have talked about it. Everybody said, people when I'm around College Station, they say, "Man, how could you coach at Baylor and OU and Kansas State being an Aggie?" Money changes your loyalty, and let's don't make any bones about that. And Joey had a program to try to build. So, I don't know the details of it, but I just like the way that Dave, and I'm sure it bothered him. I'm sure there's things that maybe he wished were handled different, but his focus stayed on his team, which is pretty good reflection of why they're where they're at right now.
What do you feel about the coaching cycle? This is one of the craziest ones ever, but because of coaches getting fired earlier and earlier, as a person that this is the profession you've chosen, it's already a rocky one. Even when you're doing well, sometimes you don't know what your footing is in this business. How do you feel about how this has started to transpire in coaching?
Well, I don't like it. I think that this is my issue. When I came up in the business, if you did a good job and your ADs knew coaches, and they could go out and they hired people that they knew, that they trusted, and nowadays, and there was always, when I was at A&M, I'll never forget this. Emory Ballard used to tell me, he said, I got to please one guy, the local sports editor. His name was Jerry Wagner. I mean, one guy. And if Jerry wrote good things, most Aggies were happy. But nowadays, with the social media, the Twitter, everybody's got an opinion. And I'm disappointed in some of our administrative athletically that listen to them. I mean, I was so shocked last week when Skip Holtz got fired. Skip Holtz has done an unbelievable job at Louisiana Tech. And you know this, David, on a shoestring budget. And been to 7 straight bowl games, won 6, and he has a bad year, and he's gone. And the perception of how that happens, it bothers me. And I think that you get guys, and whether it's right or wrong, you got coaches. Texas Tech hadn't been to a bowl in 4 or 5 years, and their coach had them in a bowl, almost bowl eligible. I think they were 5-3. And he gets fired. And I just, people don't understand that there is no, Lincoln Riley. People get on Lincoln Riley. For whatever reason, Lincoln Riley saw something at USC that appealed to him. And I think it's a sign of the time. I don't like it, but I don't see it changing.
Phil, what did you think when you heard that Lincoln Riley news? Were you like everybody else and just blown away by the shock of it all?
I started laughing because I heard that statement after the state game when he said, first the question, he goes, listen, first thing I'm going to answer, I'm not going to LSU. Mm-hmm. But he sort of dealt a bitter card. Hell, he was going to USC. he just sort of, and everybody said, well, they're good. But, I think he looked, honest to goodness, I think he looked at what's happening at the SEC. There's going to be 3 divisions. And the way they were talking about spacing, I don't think he liked it. And I think he looked at USC. He was really wanted. Obviously, they catered to what he wanted. And his chance to go dominate the Pac-12 is going to be pretty good.
It's interesting. Can you imagine if you would have been that young reporter or just somebody that was there and said, okay, well, what about USC? And seeing the look on his face, he would have thrown up. Turned completely like a ghost.
You probably would be working for ESPN right now.
Yeah, no question. No. Hey, you mentioned that money can change you and all that. Dave Aranda's name's been up. He's a hot name right now for obvious reasons what he's done. It seems like he is a great fit at Baylor, and I'm always of the opinion if Art had not been dealt with what happened in 2016, he might have been here forever, even though Texas and others were always kind of sniffing around wanting him.
I think you're exactly right. I think Dave has such an appreciation, and this is just me from afar. After last year, he took so many hits. He's a great coordinator. He's not a head coach, and then he goes out, really evaluates, restructures his staff, and he grew. And he also, he's got an AD that was willing to work with him. And he sees that. And why would you want to jump back? I've been at LSU. I can tell you it's a great place. But let's be honest, it's a highly volatile job, without question. Whether it's Les Miles, whether it's Nick Saban, Orgeron, it is a job that you never know from day to day. Baylor, in what they have done, he hired Jeff. Jeff brought his people in. They've got it. It not only helped them on offense, it helped them on defense. Dave is in a comfort zone. He's got a strength coach there, and Vic, who is absolutely one of the best. Mm-hmm. And I think he's a balanced guy. I mean, Dave doesn't need to be stroked every week. He doesn't need to be see his name in lights. He's a football coach, and that's what I've always liked about him.
Phil, I want to go back to, and you've talked about Jalen Petrie before, but here he is, along with some other key players, playing for a second Big 12 title in the last 3 years, having an opportunity to go out on a high note. He's a finalist for some awards, getting a lot of attention like the Thorpe. What do you recall about what you saw in him initially? Because we've talked about, him arriving at Baylor and all that, but what did you see in him? Because I remember he was not like the most heralded commit at the time. There was Kellen Mond and Baron Browning and all these other guys. But what was it about Jalen?
He wasn't even the most recruited guy at school.
Right, yeah.
I went down there with Kendall. We were looking at Heck Jones.
Yes.
And who went to A&M after we left. And I go down there, and I forget the coach's name. I think it's Coach Lousy or something. And he told me, he said, I got a guy, DB, that has had, just, and I watched him. I said, shit, he's good. Mm-hmm. And he was a great kid. Came to camp. And, Heck was, everybody wanted him. He was a sprinter, receiver. He was a golden guy. And Jalen, everybody we talked, I went to the school. Everybody at staff told me that he is the best player, best kid on this team. And I'll never forget when it all went down. I talked to him. I said, "You need to." And he didn't have. I'll be honest with you. I think he had knee surgery that year, and he didn't get a lot off. I said, "Stay with it." And it's been just watching him, and he is a fabulous player. But you can just tell he is just such a wonderful kid. I mean, it's been just heartfelt, warming to see him do what he's done.
Jim Thorpe, finalist. He's going to be an All-American, you would think. You want to hear how money can change you? This is from the Lincoln Riley contract details. $110 million, I don't know how many years. USC's buying both of his homes in Norman for about $500,000, the over asking $1 million bonus. Buying a $6 million home in L.A. for him. Unlimited use of the private jet 24/7 for family.
Wow. That'll be a lot of trips to Muleshoe, won't it?
Yeah. Yes, it will. Better get that airport
They're going to have to land in a pasture.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Lord, you always.
You ever recruit anybody out of Muleshoe, Phil?
You know, I've been through there, but it was how fast I could get out.
Oh, my God.
Hey, Coach.
You know, and you know, Dave, it's once again, I don't begrudge anything for Lincoln doing that. There was something, his family, whatever the situation. But let's be honest, a lot of his staff are not going with him. I mean, you know, he has all that. He's going to have a line coach that no longer is going to be 10 minutes from his family. He's going to have to drive hours a day. You know, it just changes everything. And that's why these coaches who make these moves, you know, I mean, they're to be commended. This business is changing fast. Yes, there is more money, but there's also, that comes at a cost. And that's one of the things, you know, that those guys will be dealing with.
Coach, I want to ask you about DeAndre Torrey, running back there for the Mean Green. Been following him because of doing the Earl Campbell Award the last few years, and he just seems like a tremendous back. I know that Ragsdale also had a big performance in the backfield for you guys in that win this Saturday. Can you just talk though about Torrey and what you've seen from him over the last season, and just what kind of a player is he? What kind of person is he?
Well, first of all, he is an absolute stud of a guy. I mean, he is a worker. You can't even get him to talk. I work with the returners. He's our kickoff and punt returner, and I can't get him. I call him D. Torrey. I said, I'm going to get you to talk to me. I mean, he's just a worker. He is dedicated. You know, he's had, like I said, early on, he had some ankle injuries, and he never stopped. Every week he would come back, and he is just a guy. And I'm telling you, he's a guy that he reminds me of Dalton Hilliard from LSU. He could start and stop as good as anybody I've ever seen. He had a run on Saturday, and you guys ought to pull it up. It is absolutely fabulous. And he is he's strong, he's powerful, deceptive speed, and he is really and he's a leader by action. It's never about him. It's always about the team. And if he was to get in that upper echelon of the Earl Campbell Award, of course, you know, I played and grew up with Earl, playing against him. We're the same age. That would be outstanding.
Hey, you're the defensive coordinator, right?
Yeah.
Well, of course you are. You look at the numbers from last year and the numbers from this year, and I know that sometimes it doesn't happen immediately. What did you do differently? And I know it didn't happen right away, but what did you do? What did you change? You know,
as I told the kids, and it's exactly what I told them at Baylor. I said, this is going to be a journey. And I said, in any journey that you start, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. I said, but we have to, you know, you've got to stick with the plan. And the thing I was so proud of, Smoke, is we got guys in the right place. You know, we had, you know, Jim was with me again, Jim Gush. Mm-hmm. And when we were struggling on offense, we weren't quite good enough to carry us, but we were getting better. And, you know, I didn't even know that. Somebody sent it to me today. I guess we're the second most improved defense in the country. And the last 5-6 games, we gave up 13.8 points a game on defense, which, you're going to have a chance to win if you do that. And we weren't, I would never call us, we weren't just a devastating, off the field defense, but you had to earn to score on us. And if you do that and you keep them in the teams, you're going to win a lot of games. And I was proud of our kids. They bought into what we're doing. I thought we finally got everybody in the right place. And that's the key, putting people in position that can make you better. And they were a fun group, and they never stopped. Like before the game, I remember this vividly. One of my senior guys who was in the portal when I got there, I grabbed him and I said, "Stay with me." And I said, "We'll make this thing. It'll be fun." He grabbed me before the game, and he's a very quiet kid, and he told me, "Coach, we're winning today," and I knew we were. And it was a great feeling and a great story.
That gave me goosebumps, and I can't imagine what it does for you as a coach when somebody you ask them to believe in you, and then it happens.
Yeah. Well, and I always, last week they you and I talked the other day. They honored Eddie Lackey.
Yep.
I think of people like Eddie and the people I've had in my life. Eddie was an unbelievable story. Eddie, the only person that ever believed in Eddie was Eddie. I mean, his story is unbelievable. But yeah, that kind of stuff makes your life. All the criticism you take, all the disappointments. Every time Eddie was in a last spring, Eddie was in a bodybuilding test, and it was in College Station, and he came and we went to dinner, and we had more fun. And it was, I think I might have told you, it was the night that he competed, and I bet he ate 5 pizzas.
Yeah.
But and I was laughing. I said, "Eddie, I thought I'd do a lot of things with you, but I didn't think I'd drink this much beer with you."
Yeah, and he keeps talking about what was the story about his head? He got his bell rung. You still hammer him.
We played that game early in Eddie's career. We made that great decision to go to UL Monroe, and they had already beaten Arkansas and should have beaten Auburn. And we go there, and Dave, it is 99% humidity. And here Eddie is from Riverside, California, no humidity. And he comes off the field, and they were good. And it's Duck Dynasty night. And he looked at me and Jim Gush. He goes, "I'm a little bit dizzy." And Jim Gush looked at him. He goes, "Well, GD, you're making me dizzy the way you're friggin' playing." And Eddie just sort of looked at him and goes, "These guys are nuts."
I was at that game, and that was dicey. You ended up winning in the end 47-42.
Yeah,
but that is a nutsy, crazy place. That's a great atmosphere.
Yeah, it was. It was
that,
right there on the bayou.
Yeah, and Eddie told us that Aranda was actually the one that had recruited him to Hawaii, and then got the call from you guys.
That?
Yeah, crazy.
I went out there and I was recruiting him, and he had come to the Texas game. We'd beat Texas, and he goes, "Well, I'm committed to Hawaii." And I said, "Well," and see what's funny? It's crazy. It's a small world. When I was at Pitt, we played Navy. Navy was really good, and we beat them. We played real good, and Hawaii was playing them. And I'll never forget, I stayed up late one night. So Dave and we were on the phone 2 hours because he's so detailed. And I was giving him my thoughts about Navy, and they were playing Navy. And I just knew, I hadn't met him, but I said, "This guy's a football coach." And it's funny how things evolve.
Absolutely. One other note, you got anything else for Coach Bennett? I got to ask you I've asked you what it means to a lot of people. What about what it means to Seth Luttrell? The win, to get you bowl eligible, because I know he was under fire.
Yeah, he's the best of the best. He loved, the kids adore him. They've had some things, he started off on fire, and they haven't been very good on defense the last 3 years, or really maybe his whole time. They've outscored people. And I think he said it best the other day. he really did a good job. And he said this was his favorite team because we didn't have problems. We stayed the course, and they kept working, and they kept believing. The staff, there was no animosity. It was a smooth staff. People respected each other, and you could just tell that success was not very far away. And Seth he's a man's man. He is a tough, but yet passionate guy for his players and the game of football. I coached him. I knew what he was as a player. He's everything I thought he was as a coach.
Phil, thank you as always. Appreciate it. Congratulations, bowl eligible. I know what it means to the program, extra practices, and also for recruiting. Hit the road. I know you are, and thanks for your time as always.
Hey, it's always – I've missed you guys. It's been fun, though.
Yeah, we've missed the hell out of you, too. Phil Bennett, now defensive coordinator at North Texas. They turned around 1-6 to 6-6 and knocked out previously unbeaten UT San Antonio.
I wish I would have said this one there. It just occurred to me. By the way, R.C. Slocum rang the bell today. Baylor Scott and White. He's done with his cancer treatment.
Great
so
news.
Hopefully that's clear. So looked as happy as a man could be after doing that. So